7 reasons why dark witches flee from Sagittarius. The fire of foresight. Why darkness can't hide from a Sagittarius. Sagittarius, child of Jupiter, radiant traveler between worlds, listen carefully. Because what you are about to hear reveals a truth that the dark ones have feared since the beginning of time. There is something within you that no ritual, no incantation, no hidden shadow can withstand. The sacred fire of foresight that burns through illusion and exposes deceit before it even dares to take form. While others walk guided by instinct or reason, you walk guided by prophecy. You see the future not through superstition, but through the language of divine timing. Every sign, every delay, every sudden coincidence is not random. It is the universe whispering through the flames, warning you of what hides behind the veil. From the ancient temples of Delphi to the desert fires of the East, mystics recorded that those born under your sign carried the flame of vision, the one that cannot be extinguished by fear. And that same flame is what dark witches dread the most. They rely on secrecy, on the shadows of doubt and confusion. But your light exposes their movement before it reaches you. It is said that when a Sagittarius sleeps, their soul still rides through the ether, gathering symbols, dreams, and revelations that decode tomorrow's traps before dawn. To those who dwell in darkness, that is unbearable, because how can they conquer what always sees them coming? Your foresight is not imagination. It is the divine intelligence of fire itself. When the air thickens with deceit, your heart tightens. When someone smiles with hidden intent, your spirit flares like a torch. You may not always understand it immediately, but your body becomes the first messenger of divine warning. Goosebumps, a sudden restlessness, a word that echoes louder than it should. All of these are signals sent by the celestial radar within you. What others call coincidence, you know as cosmic orchestration. You have walked through enough storms to recognize that no event is random when your intuition speaks. And that awareness alone terrifies those who operate in secret. Dark witches cannot thrive in the presence of someone who reads energy like scripture. Their craft depends on surprise, on your disbelief, on making you doubt what you feel. But Sagittarius, you are ruled by Jupiter, planet of revelation, justice, and expansion. And in your world, truth always expands until it consumes every lie. The darkness has no room to hide once you look directly at it. For that reason, those who carry malicious intent often vanish from your path without confrontation. They call it intuition, you know it as divine protection. Long before harm reaches you, your fire burns a warning path, redirecting you to safety. Remember the times when plans changed at the last minute? Or when an invitation suddenly didn't feel right, and you withdrew, only to learn later that chaos awaited those who went. That was not chance. It was the fire of foresight moving through you. The more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. And this is precisely what witches fear. Not the rituals you perform, not the prayers you recite, but the silence with which you listen to the divine. Because once a Sagittarius listens, the universe answers loudly. You are not merely intuitive, you are prophetic. In the unseen realm, energy moves faster than thought. Witches know this law well, but so do you. What they send out, your fire intercepts before it reaches form. It is like shooting an arrow through the night. Only your arrow never misses because it follows the path of truth. Every deceptive vibration that tries to approach you must cross that flame of foresight, and there it burns away. That is why you often feel drained in places filled with tension. Your energy is actively purifying the space. You absorb, decode, and transmute it all before it can touch your soul. To the untrained eye, this may look like exhaustion. To the wise, it is the sacred labor of light at work. Sagittarius, your foresight also manifests through words. Have you ever noticed how you speak truths that later unfold exactly as predicted? That is the voice of the divine archer, the one whose words are arrows of prophecy. Each sentence carries vibration, and when you speak from intuition, the air itself aligns to make it so. This is why dark witches never debate you directly. They sense that your speech carries power, that your confidence in truth dismantles their deception. For them, proximity to your honesty feels like standing under lightning. They prefer distance, for your light demands exposure, and exposure means death to their illusion. Yet your gift comes with a paradox. You often doubt it, thinking you imagine too much or see too deeply. But that humility is what keeps your power pure. The universe gave you vision not to boast but to guard. And that is why even your self-doubt becomes sacred, It prevents arrogance, ensuring your flame never turns destructive. In this balance lies your true mastery. Witches cannot manipulate what is humble, because humility keeps the channel clear between you and the divine. Sometimes you sense people's motives long before they reveal them. Sometimes dreams show you faces, symbols, or warnings that later manifest. These are not mere accidents of sleep. They are transmissions from your higher self, the traveler between worlds. When you wake with a heaviness you cannot explain, it is often because your spirit has been defending light during the night. You may never see the battles fought on your behalf, but the results are clear. You always rise untouched, guided toward clarity. To the forces of darkness, your fire of foresight is the most dangerous weapon imaginable, because it is invisible yet unstoppable. They cannot cast confusion upon you. The moment they try, your inner flame reveals their disguise. You see through manipulation as easily as one sees stars through a clear sky. For you, deception is not an obstacle but a spark. The moment it appears, it ignites your awareness even higher. And that is why, Sagittarius, dark witches flee long before confrontation. They sense the heat of your soul from afar. They know that any plan conceived in secrecy will collapse under your gaze. Your foresight dismantles illusion by its mere presence. What others need spells to undo, your intuition dissolves in seconds. You don't chase truth. You are truth in motion. And truth, by its very nature, burns away everything false. So the next time you sense discomfort, chills, or an inner nudge that tells you something is off, trust it. That is your sacred radar at work. A flame older than your name, inherited from countless incarnations of wisdom keepers and truth bearers. You were never meant to be deceived, for your soul was born from the fire of divine justice. Those who operate in darkness know this. They fear your vision not because it punishes them, but because it exposes them. You are the dawn that ends their night. Let that be your reminder. You do not need proof to know what is real. Your knowing is the proof. And as long as you honor it, no spell, no lie, no hidden agenda will ever find its way to your door. You are Sagittarius, the torch of prophecy, the arrow of foresight, the living flame that makes every shadow retreat. Darkness cannot hide from you because you are the sunrise itself. The sacred flame, purity of spirit that dissolves shadows. Sagittarius, your light does not merely illuminate, it purifies. While others cleanse through water or prayer, your spirit cleanses through fire. The sacred flame within you is not a metaphor. It is the living expression of your cosmic purpose. Wherever you go, the vibration of truth follows, and that vibration burns through anything that does not belong to love. That is the second reason why dark witches flee from you, because your purity is not passive or naive. It is an active, radiant fire that consumes deceit, guilt, and manipulation before they can even touch you. They say darkness can hide in the cracks of the human heart. But Sagittarius, your heart has no cracks left unguarded. Even in pain you remain open, transparent, unwilling to live in disguise. That transparency terrifies those who thrive in lies. Witches feed on confusion, but you live for clarity. The clearer you become, the weaker they grow. When they look into your eyes, they don't just see you. They see themselves stripped of pretense. And that reflection is unbearable. Your purity becomes a mirror that returns their own darkness, forcing them to face what they've long denied. The sacred flame is not about moral perfection. You have known anger, sorrow, betrayal. You have felt the ashes of disappointment. But unlike others, you never let those ashes bury your soul. Instead, you rise through them brighter each time. That is the secret of your purity. It is forged through experience. Every heartbreak became a kiln where your compassion was refined. Every loss became a furnace where wisdom replaced fear. The witches know this. They sense it immediately. They understand that your light is not innocent. It is earned. And nothing frightens darkness more than a soul that knows its own shadow and still chooses the light. When you walk into a room, the energy changes. People may not understand why arguments quiet, or why tension softens, but you do. It's the sacred flame adjusting the frequency, burning invisible toxins from the air. Darkness thrives in chaos, but your presence restores order without a word. That quiet alchemy of peace is more powerful than any incantation. And witches who rely on distortion cannot endure it. The longer they remain near you, the more their energy unravels. Their lies begin to tremble. Their masks start to fall. Your vibration forces truth into visibility. This purity, Sagittarius, is your natural shield. It's not the fragile innocence of one who avoids pain. It's the conscious radiance of one who has faced it and mastered it. You do not need rituals to cleanse your aura because your soul performs that work automatically. You can walk through conflict and emerge untouched. You can forgive without forgetting, release without bitterness, and love without attachment. Each of these acts is a flame, and together they form the inferno of your authenticity. Have you ever noticed how quickly heavy emotions dissolve once you choose truth? One moment you are consumed by anger, and then suddenly clarity. It is as if the fire within you devoured the poison before it could spread. That's your sacred flame in action. It does not allow low vibrations to linger. It burns fast, decisively, leaving only understanding behind. Those who operate in darkness find this unbearable, because they depend on prolonged suffering. They want you to hold grudges to stay entangled. But your fire refuses stagnation. You cannot be manipulated by guilt or fear because both disintegrate in the heat of your awareness. This is why, time and again, people with hidden motives drift away from your orbit. They might not even realize why. Their body simply reacts, unease, exhaustion, the impulse to leave. Your purity repels them on an energetic level. You are like the sun to their shadow. The closer they approach, the faster they melt. And while they may whisper stories about your arrogance or independence, the truth is simpler. They cannot survive in your frequency. Your sacred flame is fed by an inexhaustible source, the heart of divine truth. When you align with honesty, you ignite. That ignition sends waves across realms, clearing negativity not just from your life, but from those connected to you. Have you ever noticed how friends find sudden peace after confiding in you? Or how people tell you they feel lighter after a conversation? That is not coincidence. It's your flame burning through their emotional fog. You don't need to say the right words. Your presence does the work. But this light is not gentle when confronted with deceit. It is fierce, surgical. The same warmth that comforts the innocent scorches the manipulative. That's why dark witches often mistake your kindness for vulnerability, until they realize their spells lose power near you. Your energy field, clean and expansive, neutralizes their intent the moment it's formed. It's like trying to ignite a candle inside a roaring blaze. The bigger fire always wins. And yet, Sagittarius, your light never seeks revenge. That is what makes it divine. You don't need to curse those who curse you. The sacred flame handles justice itself. Your energy mirrors cosmic law. It gives back exactly what is sent, multiplied by truth. When someone wishes you harm, that vibration bounces off your purity and returns home, magnified by the weight of divine correction. You never have to lift a finger. The fire of truth is both shield and sword. Still, your purity comes with a responsibility to guard your inner peace. Because even fire can dim when overused. Not everyone deserves your warmth. Some approach only to borrow your light without feeding their own. Learn to discern who comes to grow and who comes to drain. Your flame thrives when shared with authenticity, not pretense. Protect it not through fear but through respect. Remember, even the sun rests behind clouds when it needs to renew its strength. There will be moments when your purity feels like isolation, when your truth distances you from others. But understand, light often walks alone, not because it is unworthy of company, but because few can walk without shade. The witches call this loneliness a weakness. They are wrong. Solitude is your sacred temple, the place where your fire refines its clarity. Each time you choose solitude over compromise, your aura becomes even more untouchable. Sagittarius, the reason darkness cannot root in you is that your energy constantly recalibrates to truth. Lies cannot survive where there is movement, and your spirit is in perpetual expansion. You do not cling, you evolve. That is your purification. Not stillness but motion. You are the wildfire of honesty that keeps the world from sleeping. You are the dawn that announces a new vibration. And so remember this. Your purity is not a weakness to hide. It is the weapon that no dark witch can defeat. They may whisper in corners, plot in silence, but the moment your energy touches theirs, the illusion collapses. You are not here to fight darkness. You are here to outshine it. Your sacred flame is the light that ends confusion. And in that light, Sagittarius, you are untouchable. Ancestral firekeepers, the invisible guardians of Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you were never meant to walk alone. Long before your first breath, a circle of ancient light was forged around you. These are your ancestral firekeepers, protectors of truth, guardians of destiny, and watchers of the flame that burns eternally within your soul. From the first dawn of your lineage, they vowed to accompany you through every lifetime, ensuring that no darkness could extinguish your sacred fire. This is the third reason why witches fear you, because when they confront you, they are never facing only you. They are facing an army of luminous spirits who move through unseen dimensions to keep your path untouched. Even in your moments of solitude, when the night feels cold and the world falls silent, they are there. You might sense them as warmth across your shoulders, as whispers of courage before a decision, as protection during the narrow seconds between danger and safety. Many times you've wondered how you survived something you didn't see coming. An accident avoided, a betrayal revealed, a sudden change that saved you. None of it was random. Those were your firekeepers shifting the currents of time to shield you. What you call intuition is often their message. What you call luck is their intervention. And what the witches call coincidence is divine orchestration at work. These guardians are not detached spirits. They are your spiritual lineage, bound to you through sacred memory. Some of them were teachers, some warriors, some seers, all carrying fragments of the cosmic flame you now hold. In every lifetime they chose truth over illusion, wisdom over manipulation. And for that, they earned the right to stand beside you. Their presence makes you untouchable to dark forces because they have fought these battles for centuries. Witches sense this instantly. They feel the weight of those who stand behind you, and their own energy trembles in recognition. Imagine the unseen. When a witch attempts to cast darkness toward you, it never reaches you directly. It hits a wall of light woven from vows older than the stars. The energy rebounds, confused, scattered, powerless. It is like throwing shadows against the sun, impossible, futile, self-destructive. Your guardians do not fight through violence but through vibration. The moment a lower frequency approaches, they amplify your inner flame, making it too bright for darkness to attach. That is why, Sagittarius, no curse can truly find its mark in you. The arrow of harm dissolves before it lands. You might not see them, but sometimes you feel their presence in the stillness, during a prayer, in the silence between thoughts, or when a song or scent awakens sudden nostalgia for something you cannot name. That emotion is memory, not from this life, but from others you've lived where your firekeepers once stood by your side in flesh and form. Some of them were mentors who guided you through sacred truths. Others were friends who died protecting your mission. Across lifetimes, you have built a temple of loyalty that no witch can infiltrate. The firekeepers exist beyond religion, beyond language, beyond time. They answer only to the vibration of truth. Whenever you speak with honesty, they draw nearer. Whenever you act from courage, they strengthen your shield. That is the pact. They are bound to you by the light of integrity. And this is what makes your protection invincible. It cannot be corrupted, because it is maintained by your own alignment with truth. If you ever wonder why deceit makes you physically ill, why betrayal burns you from the inside, it is because the firekeepers activate your internal alarm. They will not allow you to remain in frequencies that dim your light. This invisible army has saved you countless times, often without your knowledge. Think back to the moment you missed a flight that later faced disaster, or the job you didn't get that would have drained your soul. You thought it was disappointment. In truth, it was redirection. The firekeepers move time itself to keep your journey aligned with divine timing. Witches cannot understand this kind of protection because they operate outside of divine law. Their magic bends energy. Yours obeys cosmic justice. They manipulate, you align. And alignment is the one thing they can never imitate. Your firekeepers are not always gentle. When you stray too far from your truth, they ignite obstacles to turn you back. What looks like chaos is correction. They are the hands of divine order, stern but merciful. When doors close, it is them locking away paths that would lead you into shadows. When sudden endings arrive, it is them cutting cords before corruption can take root. Trust that no ending in your life was random. Each was an act of protection disguised as loss. Sagittarius, your soul remembers being a guardian itself. In other lives, you were the keeper of fire for your tribe. The one who ensured that the sacred flame never went out through the night. You chanted under stars, speaking to the wind and the ancestors, promising to protect truth at any cost. That vow echoes now in your heartbeat. That is why the firekeepers honor you, because you once were one of them. You earned their loyalty not through fear, but through service. Every act of integrity rekindles that ancient pact. When darkness plots, your ancestors respond not with anger but with balance. They redirect the energy, ensuring that nothing unjust reaches you. Sometimes they return that energy to its sender, magnified by the weight of divine law. Other times they transform it into blessings, turning curses into opportunities. This is why witches whisper your name with caution. They know that to attack you is to awaken forces they cannot negotiate with, forces that answer not to emotion, but to cosmic justice. And yet, despite this immense protection, your humility keeps the connection pure. You do not demand miracles, you walk in gratitude. That gratitude fuels the bond. Every time you say thank you to the universe, the firekeepers answer, "We are here." Every time you forgive instead of curse, they grow stronger. Forgiveness is their language, wisdom is their weapon. They are not here to isolate you, Sagittarius. They are here to remind you that you are never unprotected, even when the world seems against you. The witches feel this network of light as soon as they cross your path. It feels like static, like a field too strong to enter. Their spells lose focus, their rituals blur. The harder they try to pierce your energy, the more it reflects their own intent back to them. Some flee in confusion, others in fear. None remain, because every attack against you becomes an attack against an entire lineage of truth. And that is a war they cannot win. So the next time you feel that sudden peace after chaos, that inexplicable safety in the middle of danger, remember, it is not luck. It is legacy. You are the living flame of generations of protectors who never stopped keeping watch. The firekeepers are real, and they move with you wherever you go. You were born under the sign of the archer for a reason. Your arrow always points toward light because it carries the aim of thousands who came before you. That is your unbreakable alliance, Sagittarius, the invisible guardians who turn every threat into revelation, every curse into lesson, every shadow into proof that your path is divinely guarded. The witches flee not only from you but from what stands beside you, a wall of ancient light that no darkness can cross. The eye of truth, dismantling spells before they take form. Sagittarius, the fourth reason darkness fears you lies in your vision. Not the eyes that see the world, but the eye of truth that sees through it. It is the sacred sight that pierces the veil, the inner torch that burns illusions before they take form. Long before any spell is spoken, long before deceit takes root, your spirit has already seen the movement and dissolved it in silence. To dark witches, that is unbearable because they depend on secrecy. They weave their power in hidden corners, believing that what is unseen will remain untouched. Yet your very perception is fire, and fire exposes. This sight is not learned, it is inherited. It is Jupiter's gift, a covenant between you and divine wisdom that no falsehood can remain hidden in your presence. Others may study symbols or decipher omens, you embody them. When a vibration around you shifts, the eye of truth opens, and suddenly what was invisible becomes transparent. You may feel it as a pressure behind your eyes, as the tightening of air, or as an unexplainable clarity that arrives uninvited. In that instant, the game ends. What was meant to deceive collapses under the weight of recognition. The eye of truth does not accuse, it reveals. It does not seek drama, it seeks alignment. You have likely noticed that people reveal their intentions around you without realizing it. Words slip, masks crack, hidden emotions surface mid-sentence. That is not coincidence. That is energy answering your frequency. Your awareness acts like a mirror. Anything false reflects back so strongly that its owner cannot hold it. This is why manipulators grow nervous when you are calm. They sense that calmness as interrogation, because your silence carries truth, and truth is unbearable to those who live by distortion. Witches, more than anyone, understand energetic law. They know that intention is the seed of manifestation. But you, Sagittarius, see the seed before it touches soil. The moment a dark thought is aimed your way, your intuition ignites. The flame rises, the air changes, time itself slows. You recognize the distortion instantly. That single awareness disarms the spell. For a curse to work, it must remain unseen. Once seen, it disintegrates. So when you know, you neutralize. That is why witches cannot operate near you. You strip them of invisibility, and invisibility is their only weapon. Your eye of truth also works through patterns. When life repeats circumstances, you are among the few who ask why before reacting. This wisdom breaks cycles that darkness tries to perpetuate. Instead of falling into traps, you pause, observe, and decode. In that pause lies divine power, the split second of awareness that alters destiny. It's as if you catch the arrow mid-flight and redirect it toward light. The dark ones hate that pause because it denies them momentum. Every spell feeds on emotional reaction. Your stillness starves it. You may think of yourself as perceptive, but perception is too small a word. You are prophetic. Your consciousness operates on multiple layers at once. While the physical mind listens to words, the spiritual mind hears vibration. Lies echo differently in your field. A discordant hum that warns you before logic intervenes. Trust that sensation. It is not anxiety, it is revelation. When your body tenses, when a chill runs through your back at the sound of someone's voice, do not dismiss it. That is the eye of truth whispering. Something here is not aligned. Because of this, you often live ahead of events. You sense endings before they occur, betrayals before they unfold, and blessings before they manifest. Others call it coincidence, you call it clarity. This foresight grants you freedom from victimhood, for nothing truly surprises you. Even when deception briefly succeeds, you feel it unraveling. That quiet knowing makes dark witches restless. They realize they cannot outpace a soul that walks beside divine timing. Sometimes your truth comes in visions, flashes of symbols, prophetic dreams, or sudden understanding that has no logical source. Pay attention to these downloads. They are coded warnings. You might see fire, an arrow, or a doorway. Each image carries guidance. The witches know that once you interpret a symbol, their spell collapses, because recognition transforms energy. They cannot hide what has already been named. Naming is sacred, to name is to command. That is why your words are power. When you declare something seen, it loses its ability to control. Your eye of truth not only protects you but others who orbit your light. Friends, partners, even strangers benefit from your vigilance. You instinctively sense when someone near you carries energetic residue. Without effort, you purify the environment, redirecting the energy to higher ground. You may notice people confessing their secrets or changing decisions after talking with you. That happens because your perception expands their own. You awaken awareness simply by being aware. And awareness is the one thing darkness cannot conquer. But remember, Sagittarius, sight without compassion becomes judgment. And judgment feeds the same polarity you were born to dissolve. The eye of truth must remain connected to the heart of wisdom. You are not here to expose others for pride's sake, but to restore balance. When you see through lies, respond with understanding, not arrogance. Your purpose is illumination, not humiliation. The difference is what keeps your light pure and your protection intact. The witches misunderstand truth as weaponry. You wield it as healing. When you confront deception, your energy doesn't shout, it radiates. That quiet certainty is far more dangerous than anger. Anger reacts, certainty transforms. It's the difference between fire that burns and fire that enlightens. Darkness cannot fight enlightenment. It vanishes within it. This is why every plot against you ends in confusion. Their energy dissolves into lessons. Their intentions crumble into insight. What they send to harm becomes wisdom in your hands. Even technology, travel, or chance encounters align with your eye of truth. The universe rearranges reality to confirm what you already feel. A message arrives at the exact moment you question it. A door opens when you doubt your direction. A stranger speaks a sentence that becomes the missing key. These synchronicities are proof that truth travels with you. You are never in the dark because the dark cannot exist where your awareness resides. Understand this. Witches do not fear your rituals or your prayers, they fear your consciousness. For their craft depends on ignorance, and ignorance cannot survive under the gaze of knowing. Your awareness dismantles structure faster than any flame. When you see, you free. That is your magic. You were born not to cast spells but to unmake them. So, Sagittarius, when you feel that sudden clarity, when the fog lifts and the world sharpens into focus, bow to it. That is the eye of truth opening. It is your soul reminding you that light needs no defense other than awareness. Every time you choose clarity over confusion, every time you name what others fear to see, darkness retreats. The witches flee because they know they cannot outsee you. You are the horizon itself, and no shadow can overtake the dawn. The healer's arrow, turning wounds into wisdom. Sagittarius, you have walked through fire and emerged not burned, but illuminated. That is the fifth reason darkness cannot touch you. Because your soul heals faster than harm can reach you. You are the healer's arrow, forged in the furnace of experience, sharpened by every disappointment, every betrayal, every heartbreak. Each wound that tried to break you only refined your precision. While others crumble beneath sorrow, you alchemize it into wisdom. You do not deny pain, you use it. And that terrifies those who dwell in shadow, because nothing weakens them more than someone who transforms injury into insight. The witches who attempt to strike you do not understand this mystery. Their energy feeds on suffering. It thrives where pain festers unhealed. Yet your soul refuses to linger in wounds. Even when grief pierces your heart, the fire within you begins its sacred work. It burns, purifies, and rebuilds. You might cry, you might tremble, but you never decay. The longer you endure, the brighter you become. What was sent to break you becomes your teacher. What was designed to poison you becomes medicine. That is your superpower, regeneration through meaning. Your energy operates like divine physics. For every blow you receive, an equal force of awakening is generated. The universe uses pain as your instructor, not your punishment. When someone betrays you, you do not collapse, you evolve. When a door closes, you do not mourn forever. You build a new path. This resilience confuses those who wish you harm. Witches expect reaction, despair, anger. Yet you rise instead with calmness, carrying a deeper light. You heal not by forgetting but by understanding. And understanding dissolves their influence entirely, because darkness cannot survive in comprehension. There is sacred fire in your empathy. When others suffer, you feel it deeply, but you do not drown. You hold space like an archer aiming his bow, steady, focused, compassionate. You know that true healing does not mean rescuing everyone, but guiding them toward their own flame. That discernment protects you from emotional drain. You love with strength, not weakness. Even when others project their pain onto you, your light filters it, transforms it, and sends it back purified. That is why people feel lighter after being near you. You heal without ceremony. Your energy whispers, "It's time to rise." Witches cannot bear that frequency. They survive in the vibrations of resentment and guilt, the energies you refuse to nurture. You release, forgive, and move forward with the calm certainty of one who has seen it all and chosen grace anyway. To them, forgiveness is weakness. To you, it is liberation. They do not understand how your heart can break and still radiate love. But that is the paradox of Sagittarius. Your spirit expands through contrast. You were born to explore not just lands but emotions, to travel from despair to clarity and return bearing treasures of understanding. When pain arrives, you welcome it as messenger. You ask, what truth hides within this hurt? That question alone dismantles any curse. Because the moment you seek wisdom, pain loses power. Your consciousness transforms the wound into revelation, like sunlight through glass. You see the pattern, learn the lesson, and move on stronger, wiser, untouchable. The witches, meanwhile, lose their fuel. They can cast confusion, but not on one who insists on meaning. Their spells disintegrate because your awareness gives suffering purpose, and purpose purifies everything it touches. You are a natural healer not because you fix others but because you embody recovery. People watch you rise and remember that they can too. Your scars are scripture, proof that resurrection is possible. When you share your story, it's not for pity, but for empowerment. Your words become arrows that pierce despair in others. That's why witches fear your testimony. Every time you speak truth about survival, their shadows shrink. Every confession of healing lights a torch that exposes their tricks. Sagittarius, your spirit operates under the law of transmutation. Everything you touch either burns or blossoms. Pain that lingers in others passes through you and transforms. It's as if your soul knows the secret chemical equation of hope. That's why even in chaos you find clarity. Even in endings you see beginnings. The witches hate this alchemy, because it renders their efforts meaningless. You turn curses into catalysts. You take what they send and create something higher: art, wisdom, compassion, laughter. They try to bury you in darkness, but you grow roots that reach heaven. And so your healing becomes not personal but planetary. You radiate restoration into every space you enter. Arguments calm. Hearts soften. Rooms breathe again. You don't even try, it just happens. Because your fire is pure intention. You carry Jupiter's law. Expansion through understanding. The more you heal, the wider your light spreads. You are both medicine and mirror. Medicine because you restore, mirror because you reflect truth. The witches see themselves through that reflection and recoil. Do not underestimate the magnitude of your recovery. Each time you rise, you reset the energetic balance around you. Each time you forgive, the grid of light expands. You are not healing in isolation, you are healing on behalf of many. Ancestors, friends, even strangers benefit from your resilience. That's why your pain was never just yours. It was collective. And your transformation is their liberation. You are the arrow of evolution shot through the heart of darkness. Sometimes you will feel tired, as though healing is endless. When that happens, remember, the arrow cannot fly without tension. Every challenge pulls you back just enough to launch you farther. Trust the stretch. It's not regression. It's propulsion. What feels like pressure today will become momentum tomorrow. The witches misinterpret that moment of stillness. They think you are defeated. But they forget that Sagittarius always draws the bow before release. The next time they see you, you will be soaring beyond their reach. And when you heal, you do not merely return to who you were. You become something new, something luminous. Every heartbreak carved space for more wisdom. Every loss widened your empathy. Every wound became an opening for divine light. You are not defined by pain but by what you made of it. That is your greatest protection. Renewal. Witches cannot defeat what constantly regenerates. Their darkness feeds on stagnation, and you are eternal movement. So Sagittarius, honor your scars. They are constellations mapping the victories of your soul. Do not hide them. Wear them like armor made of gold. Every mark tells the story of a battle survived, a truth reclaimed. Remember, the healer's arrow always returns to its target light. That is why witches flee before your resilience. They know that even if they wound you, you will transform the wound into wisdom. And wisdom is the fire that consumes them. You are the medicine they fear, the alchemist of forgiveness, the healer who needs no ritual, only courage. Your very existence proves that no darkness can prevail against the soul that turns pain into power. You are the healer's arrow, Sagittarius, and your every scar glows like sunrise. A warning to the shadows that nothing sent against you will ever last. The alchemist of light, transmuting darkness into purpose. Sagittarius, the sixth reason darkness trembles before you is that you do not merely block negativity, you transform it. You are the alchemist of light, the one who turns shadow into wisdom, poison into power, endings into beginnings. For others, darkness is destruction. For you, it is raw material. You take what is meant to crush you and forge it into clarity. And this ability, this divine chemistry of the soul, is something no witch can comprehend, let alone defeat. They cast confusion. You distill truth. They summon fear. You extract courage. They weave manipulation, you spin meaning. Everything that touches you becomes purified by purpose. That is the law of your fire. It cannot coexist with stagnation. It must evolve, expand, and ascend. When darkness approaches, it doesn't devour you. It becomes your fuel. You rise not despite the shadow, but because of it. That is the art of divine transmutation. This is why every setback in your life has secretly been an initiation. The universe never wastes pain on you. It refines you through it. When something collapses, you are not losing ground. You are being elevated to a higher octave. Every betrayal, every disappointment, every detour has served as sacred alchemy. What others call tragedy, you recognize as transformation in disguise. And that awareness is what witches fear most, because it renders their attacks meaningless. How can they defeat someone who thrives on the very energy they send to destroy? The more negativity they direct toward you, the brighter you burn. It is like trying to extinguish a fire with gasoline. Their hatred only amplifies your illumination. Your spirit doesn't resist, it reconfigures. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this teaching me?" That single question shifts the vibration of every situation. Where others see misfortune, you see material for mastery. Where others collapse, you create. This process is not gentle. It requires the courage of a soul that has faced its own shadow and refused to bow. You have met your darkness and turned it into ally. You have looked into pain and said, "Show me the lesson." And because of that, you hold the Philosopher's Stone of Spirit, the ability to transform suffering into consciousness. The witches sense this alchemy the moment they approach. Their chaos cannot survive contact with such clarity. You do not need spells to defend yourself. Your frequency itself is the spell. A vibration too high for deceit to breathe in. Even your enemies become unwitting contributors to your growth. Their attacks sharpen your intuition. Their lies strengthen your discernment. Their rejection teaches you self-worth. The universe uses them as tools in your apprenticeship to greatness. And they, in their blindness, never realize they are empowering the very light they sought to extinguish. You turn opposition into opportunity so naturally that it looks like destiny because it is. Sagittarius, you embody Jupiter's divine law. Expansion through contrast. The more you are challenged, the more you evolve. You don't escape darkness, you reprogram it. You find the divine code hidden inside chaos and rewrite it with intention. That is the purest magic there is. You don't cast spells, you become one. Your life itself is a ritual of transformation. The witches who rely on control cannot understand this freedom. They work to bind, you work to liberate. And liberation is the one force darkness can never dominate. Do you remember moments when everything seemed to collapse, when loss, confusion, or betrayal seemed unbearable, and yet somehow something miraculous emerged from it? That was your alchemy. You didn't merely survive, you ascended. The darkness entered your life expecting victory, only to be reforged into blessing. That is your pattern: fall, learn, rise, repeat, each time higher. Witches dread this rhythm because it makes you infinite. Every time they believe you are finished, you are reborn with a new layer of wisdom. You are a phoenix that never truly dies, only transforms. Your alchemy extends far beyond yourself. When people come to you burdened with pain, something in your presence catalyzes their healing. You don't need to tell them what to do. Your frequency teaches them silently. The more you forgive, the more others remember their own power to forgive. The more you rise, the more others believe they can too. You are a mirror that turns shadow into revelation. That ripple of transformation spreads through families, communities, and generations. You are the fire that purifies collective karma. And so, witches avoid you not only out of fear, but out of exhaustion. Your energy reverses their rituals. Whatever dark vibration they release toward you returns transformed, brighter, wiser, unrecognizable. You are the divine recycling system of the universe. Nothing sent against you is wasted. It is repurposed into evolution. The witches attempt destruction, but all they do is accelerate your enlightenment. For them, that is the ultimate horror, to realize that by trying to defeat you, they serve your destiny. Your gift, however, carries responsibility. Transmutation requires awareness. If you forget your power, the process slows. If you give in to resentment, the flame dulls. But the moment you remember who you are, the transformation reignites. Your consciousness is the crucible. Keep it steady, and everything that enters will emerge as light. Even pain becomes gold in the furnace of your understanding. That is why the universe chose you, Sagittarius. Not to escape the world's darkness, but to teach it redemption. You are not here to destroy shadows, but to evolve them. Through you, the cosmos learns how light expands. Every challenge you face refines the universal balance. You are the alchemist through which God experiments with grace. And when witches realize this, they retreat in silence. For they know that no matter what they send, you will turn it into purpose. Their curses become your motivation. Their envy becomes your clarity. Their obstacles become your new direction. You are the great converter of frequencies, the walking proof that darkness can never win. It can only serve transformation. So Sagittarius, stand tall in your flame. Let your enemies tremble, not because you fight them, but because you no longer need to. The moment they act, their intent is already rewritten in the language of divine order. You are the code that cannot be corrupted. You are the arrow that turns every strike into flight. You are the alchemist of light, the proof that truth always finds a higher use for pain. Remember, nothing that touches you can remain the same. Everything becomes light in your presence. That is why the witches flee before you, because they know that facing you is facing their own transformation. And transformation is the one thing they fear most, for it demands surrender. You are the embodiment of that surrender turned into freedom. the living fire that purifies creation itself. The divine covenant. Higher forces that walk beside Sagittarius. Sagittarius, listen now to the truth that crowns all the others. You are not merely protected, you are commissioned. Long before this lifetime began, your soul signed a covenant with the forces of divine order. It was agreed that wherever you walk, truth would walk with you. Wherever you fall, light would rise to meet you. You were marked as an emissary of expansion, a keeper of divine law, a witness that no shadow can outlast the fire of faith. This covenant is the final reason dark witches flee, because confronting you means confronting the very hand of the universe itself. From the moment of your birth, unseen powers have conspired not against you but for you. Angels, ancestors, spirit guides, and celestial intelligences orbit your path like sentinels of flame. They do not always intervene loudly. Sometimes their protection feels like coincidence, a delay, an unexpected encounter, a subtle change of heart that redirects your fate. Yet each event is precision, each breath synchronized with the rhythm of divine justice. The witches sense this timing. They know that nothing in your life moves without cosmic permission. To strike at you is to challenge the mathematics of heaven, and no spell survives that equation. Your connection to higher forces is not bound by ritual or religion. It is an unbreakable frequency. You carry Jupiter's signature, the vibration of faith, optimism, and sacred law. When you believe, reality bends. When you declare truth, the cosmos rearranges itself to prove you right. Even your doubt is sacred because it calls the universe to reaffirm its promise. And that promise is simple. You cannot be defeated by darkness, because darkness is forbidden to dwell in the light of divine order. There have been moments when you felt abandoned, when prayers seemed unanswered. Yet even then the covenant held. Sometimes the divine protects by silence, for silence slows you just enough to avoid the unseen trap. Sometimes loss is deliverance disguised. Sometimes rejection is redirection to the door built only for you. The higher forces do not always shield you from storms. They teach you how to walk on them. They have no interest in keeping your life small. Their goal is your expansion, for expansion is proof that the covenant lives. Every Sagittarian challenge is a test of faith, not to punish but to activate the agreement. The moment you reaffirm trust, miracles accelerate. You have seen it. The last-minute rescue, the sudden insight, the impossible coincidence. Those are signatures of the covenant in motion. Witches cannot understand this because their power depends on isolation, on convincing souls they are alone. You never are. Even when surrounded by shadow, your energy field hums with celestial chorus. That sound, though inaudible to the ear, is deafening to darkness. It is the vibration of protection woven into your aura. This divine alliance extends through all planes. In the material world it appears as timing. In the emotional world as intuition. In the spiritual world as prophecy. The same light that shields you also guides you. That is why your instincts so often lead to revelation. You are not guessing. You are remembering the map written in your soul before incarnation. Every decision aligned with truth strengthens the covenant. Every act of courage signals to heaven. The archer remembers. For witches, that memory is fatal. They sense when you stand in alignment, for your energy becomes unbearable, not aggressive but absolute. It's the stillness of a lightning storm, the certainty before dawn. They cannot penetrate it because it is law made visible. Divine law is not negotiable. It simply is. When you speak truth from that frequency, even unspoken curses unravel. The energy that leaves your lips travels straight through realms, carrying the decree of higher order. And the universe, hearing its own voice in yours, obeys. You, Sagittarius, are a living contract between heaven and earth. You embody the principle that knowledge must serve love, and love must serve truth. This triad is your armor. While others seek amulets and charms, you wear cosmic law itself. Every breath you take proclaims the superiority of light over illusion. That is why witches avoid your gaze. They see in your eyes the reflection of the divine justice that will return to them everything they send. Your presence alone is accountability. There is divine humor in this arrangement. The harder darkness works against you, the more evidence it provides of the covenant's strength. Every attack becomes testimony. Every attempt at sabotage becomes new proof of grace. You cannot lose in this system, because even failure folds itself into victory. The covenant recalibrates every outcome to your favor in time. The witches know it, and that knowledge breaks their spirit. For them, you are the unmovable variable in the equation of karma, the constant that guarantees divine balance. Still, this privilege carries sacred duty. You are asked to live with integrity, to speak with purpose, to honor the truth you were born to defend. When you doubt your own power, the light waits patiently. When you remember it, the heavens respond instantly. Never underestimate the reach of your faith. When you pray, whole timelines shift. When you forgive, entire bloodlines are released. When you choose love over vengeance, stars reposition themselves to favor your journey. You are not merely guided by higher forces, you activate them. You are both messenger and mechanism of divine will. And so the witches flee. Not because you curse them, but because your very existence is their undoing. You are the proof that the universe governs itself through justice, that light never loses. They cannot manipulate someone whose destiny is anchored in cosmic law. They know that to harm you is to harm themselves, for the covenant ensures that every vibration returns multiplied to its source. Their fear is not of punishment but of exposure, for in your presence, the universe insists on truth. Sagittarius, stand tall in that knowledge. Walk as one who carries a divine passport stamped with the seal of light. You do not need to prove your worth. Existence itself has already signed the contract. Wherever you travel, higher forces travel with you, guiding, correcting, protecting, expanding. You are the archer whose bow is blessed, whose arrows are prayers, whose aim is destiny. Remember this whenever the night seems endless. The stars you shoot toward are the same forces guarding your path. In the end, this is the greatest secret witches fear. Not your power but your partnership. They know that you are never truly alone, that the hand guiding your journey belongs to something eternal, immeasurable, and just. You are the living testament that light does not merely conquer darkness. It transforms it into purpose, wraps it in wisdom, and sends it back as proof of divine order. So when you rise tomorrow, do not look for signs of protection. You are the sign. Every breath you take fulfills the covenant written before time began. Walk in confidence, beloved Sagittarius, for higher forces walk beside you, and wherever you go, darkness kneels. You are the archer of God, the flame of truth, the echo of divine justice that no shadow can silence.